What does it look like when you're the only woman competing with a lot of sharp-elbowed guys for these billion-dollar deals? What does it look like when you're the only woman at the table? What does it mean when you are suddenly outperforming your partner or your husband and bringing home so much more money? How do you navigate that? These are really stories that transcend tech, transcend venture capital, transcend geography. They apply to women working in male-dominated industries everywhere. Venture capital is an industry that really picks the next generation of startups, invests in, mentors, and it is really a kind of a little understood industry that has this outsized influence on the world, really impacting what we drive, how we communicate, the medical devices we may one day need, the technology that is all around us. And it's just this industry that is entirely male-dominated. It's a matter of like funding like. So historically, these men have funded men who look very much like themselves, and they have largely been Caucasian men funding, again, men from the same schools, from some of the same backgrounds, or the same type. The stereotype, which is a stereotype for a reason, is, the male who wears the hoodie, who maybe dropped out of Harvard or Stanford. And it's this continuum. So we bring to the table what our own understanding, what our own passions are. And it's interesting in venture capital because a woman will come to present and pitch an entrepreneur, and if she's pitching something like The Real Real or Roxbox, a jewelry subscription service which is run by a woman entrepreneur, the men will often look at the sole woman at the table, like, Sonja, what do you think? Megan, what do you think? Or they'll say, I need to go home and ask my wife, or I need to ask the support staff, because it's something they don't utilize every day. And so they just don't have that experience with it. Invest in what you know. Her family had immigrated from Jakarta, Indonesia, to create that proverbial better life for Theresia and her younger sister. Theresia grows up in this kind of blue-collar town, and she makes it to Brown, and she finds her way west and lands in Silicon Valley and is an overachiever, and she becomes an entrepreneur and an engineer and then a VC. And she will go on to chase down really some of the biggest deals in venture history. She plays a role in landing the Facebook deal, again, specializing in cybersecurity, which is a great lesson for women to really specialize, bring something to the table. She was a girl from the Midwest. Grew up kind of playing hide and seek in the cornfields around her house. She drives to Silicon Valley in this old Ford Pinto, and the floorboards are so rusted out, she can literally see Sand Hill Road rushing by below when she takes that famed exit. She starts at this little company called Intel, and she becomes one of the first women in history to become partner at a venture capital firm. And she'll go on to fund some of the really backbone software and hardware companies, and is in the game today. Very scrappy, very entrepreneurial, always launching little lemonade stand types of things and always working. Becomes an investing partner at Menlo Ventures, and will really go on to fund companies that make the internet safer and faster. Magdalena Yesil, who comes to the United States from Istanbul, Turkey, and she has all of $43 and 9 gold bracelets to her name. She starts at Stanford, gets her electrical engineering degree, one of the only women in the program. She will go on to become this phenomenal entrepreneur. A lot of hits and misses along the way, which is also a big part of this story. It's not just a success story, an upward trajectory, but she will go on to help finance and build, again, a little company called Salesforce.com. Really with it, be really instrumental to Salesforce from idea through IPO, and come up with these solutions for the company, for Salesforce, when it was potentially facing bankruptcy, very dire days of the dot-com bust. They had a great sense of humor and used that humor to diffuse potentially tense situations, particularly with men. They specialized in something, they brought something to the table, they were their own champions. They knew their worth, and they love their job. They're still in the game. This is not ancient history. They're now being a force for bringing more women into this industry and to show this is a really great job. In venture capital now, there are these powerful sisterhoods, these powerful women's networks, and there's All Raise, which does a great job as kind of the political arm of this, and there are women's investing groups, whether something like Plum Alley or Broadway Angels, or I could go on, where they're really shining a light on women founders and putting their hard-earned money into that next generation of both VCs and entrepreneurs.